Hi, welcome to the presentation of ETA, a startup that uses Earth observation services for landslide prevention. 4.8 million people. This is more than the population of Rome, but what this number has in common with the population? Well, it's the number of people that have been affected by landslides in the last 20 years. This according to the World Health Organization. Landslides are the most widespread geological event that occurs in the world. In the last 20 years, there were 18,000 deaths directly related to this sort of event, and per year, it's estimated that it causes around $6 billion in damages. This is ETA's team: Beatriz, our CEO, Anne-Sophie, our CMO and Head of Communication, Federico, which is our COO and responsible for business analytics, me, João, that I'm the CTO, and Megan, that it is our CFO. ETA, as we said, is a startup that uses Earth observation technology to create terrain displacement maps. This supports the monitoring and prevention of landslides across a huge variety of regions. We want to continue to expand our services to a new market, but which is the ideal country and or region for this expansion? That's our challenge. ETA technology is based on the non-invasive imagery collected by the synthetic aperture radar sensors. We also have an effective data processing that creates highly accurate ground displacement maps, as we said previously, that customers can use to measure landslide activity in real time. Moreover, they use it to measure ground movement activity. Then we have a digital platform that provides a real-time mapping of these ground displacement maps, and it is accessible both in laptops as well as in mobile devices. To try to answer to our problem, we use the value creation wheel methodology. For this, we use the 5 stages of this methodology. So today we're going to present you all with phase 1 for discovering value, phase 2 for creating value, phase 3 to validate that value, phase 4 to capture value, and in the phase 5 we consolidate our knowledge and the value of all the work that have been done previously. This is phase 1, discover value. To give you a bit more context about landslides, we've come up with a definition for it. So the most common definition for landslide is that it is a movement of a mass of rock or debris or earth down a slope. This is the most common one. We also know that landslides cause billions of dollars in damages and thousands of deaths worldwide every year. The landslide activity is expected to rise in the coming years. This is mainly due to the rising in temperatures resulting from global warming. Especially snowy regions will be deeply affected by these kind of phenomena. Luckily, this activity can now be monitored really specifically, and with the right technology and the advances in geotechnological instrumentation, we can now monitor slopes and monitor the ground movements, which will allow to have a better prevention about landslides. So ETA is a distributor of Earth observation technology that allows you to track landslides or ground movements. Our long-term vision is to minimize at the maximum extent the loss of value that it is caused by landslides worldwide. And to do this, our value proposition is to provide the most effective landslide tracking technology that allows to minimize damage in risk areas. ETA uses satellite radar data from Terra to collect its data, and then it processes it and creates a live map that allows us to see every point of ground displacement. The technology itself, it's acquired from Terra, and the output of the processing is similar to the one that you can see in the image. It's a map that does have a live detection of ground displacement, and in which the relative level of risk of a specific point, it's attributed to a specific color, being the red the most risky ones and the green the less risky ones. The advantages of this technology is that it does have higher efficacy than traditional ones, and it enables to early detect the risk of a landslide. To complement the technology of Earth observation, we have sensors, artificial intelligence, and a digital interface. For sensors, we are talking about ground movement sensors. So they allow a complementary, comprehensive reading of the weather forecasts and the geologic characteristics of a specific region. Then for artificial intelligence, there is the use of an AI platform that it is essential to process all the data from the radars and allows us also to collect a bank of data that can be used to increase the efficacy of this platform. And then finally, the digital interface that allows us to visualize all the risk assessment of a specific area or region. It should be a user-friendly interface, and it allows the customers to easily access all the information that they are looking for. ETA is also dedicated to support the urgent call for action towards reaching the sustainable development goals. We identify with 4 SDGs. So number 1, no poverty. Number 5, gender equality. This is more an internal factor of the company itself. And then for external ones again, we have SDG 11 and SDG 13. Also, ETA is on track to reach goals outlined in the Paris Agreement. As you can see, we are aligned with Article 8 about the loss and damage, Article 9, 10, and 11, and finally with Article 12. To better understand the market and some of the characteristics that might affect ETA, we conducted a pastel analysis, and we come up to some conclusions that are relevant. So economically, we found out that there is some funding allocated for natural risk mitigation. This is also connected with politics, because governments usually have policies, strategies, or legislations that tend towards landslide mitigation and natural risks and hazards mitigation also. So socially, there are some recent and historical disasters inside countries that might affect the position of government towards this, and also from the population. Then technological, as we see, this is a highly technological startup, so it will need really skilled workers in the population to be able to handle this sort of Earth observation technology and AI technology. Environmental, overall, the risk of landslides across the country, it's an important factor for ETA, and then also the presence of valuable buildings or objects in general that are nearby these areas that are perceived as risky ones. Also, local regulations might affect the inclusion of ETA in the market, so we need to be sure that we address this problem in the right way. the potential market value is obtained using the actual value of the market. It's not really simple to calculate this sort of value. So we basically have to multiply the value that is destroyed each year, for example, for a specific country, and then we have to multiply it by the efficacy of the EO technology that is present in the country. So that we can find the actual value, we need to already have implemented some Earth observation technology to figure out how many landslides or how many ground displacements we can prevent, and prevent economic losses and also more deaths. And the growth of the market depends mainly in the change in frequency and location of landslides and in the improvements in technology that can lead to a higher percentage of the value that can be saved, as we said. We also did a competitors analysis. We found out 6 main competitors in the market, and we came up with some important conclusions. First, we found out that the technology is basically the same across the market. So we have 2, 3, 4 variations of the same technology, and we use the same imagery sources. For accuracy, they do depend on some kind of accuracy and the type of technology. We have some that are more advanced, like the INSAR, and some less advanced as the GNSS. For pricing, it's not really easy to find information regarding price, because you usually need to be a client for these companies to have access to prices. However, we ETA will have a higher price, a premium price, that will be compensated by the fact that our software complexity, it will be really low, and our support will be extremely high. Okay, so this is something that is not really reflected in the competitors. It's really difficult to find information about their support, and we intend to overcome this issue. Then for substitute analysis, we see that we have the Earth observation, INSAR, that's the technology we use. Then we also have drones, terrestrial laser scanning, and photogrammetric techniques. They vary in price, also in accuracy, in which we can see that for Earth observation the accuracy is extremely high, and then for example for drones it's really low. Laser scanning, it's also high, but it depends on the distance to the specific dot. And then the photogrammetric technique, it's an average. The applicability of its technology, well, both Earth observation and drones are not non-invasive. However, terrestrial laser scanning and the photogrammetric technique, they require ground preparation and monitoring. For analyzing the external environment of which ETA will be active in, we conducted a Porter 5 forces that led us to some conclusions. So for the competitive rivalry, we saw that it is high, so there is a high number of competitors in the market. However, the threat of substitution is relatively low. This is mainly because our company differentiates itself by offering complementary services that improve the quality of our inputs in comparison with our competitors. The threat of new entrants is perceived as medium, so it's an attractive industry. It does have a stable growth and high opportunities for funding, so governments are investing in this sort of projects. For bargaining power of buyers, it can be perceived as medium/high, because there is a high number of buyers relative to sales, and the presence of other competitors offering the same service, it's relatively common in the market. For the bargaining powers of suppliers, we see a similar situation as the buyers. So there is a high dependence on the data obtained through these radars, and therefore the bargaining power of suppliers, it can be perceived as medium and high. We also conducted a SWOT analysis to evaluate internally ETA and find out some of its strengths, the weaknesses, opportunities, and some threats that we might have. So for strengths, ETA and its technology, it's easy to apply, it's non-invasive, and it can be done periodically every 6 to 12 days without an extensive preparation, and also it is agile to international students. So we allow international students to bring diversity with new ideas, strategies, visions, and actions. For weaknesses, ETA does have a low brand awareness, it does have scarcity of financial resources, and a shallow market presence so far due to the recent founding of the company. For opportunities, so there is an opportunity for developing a Landslide database, which can be used by a huge number of entities. Also, there is a possibility of funding through the European Space Agency called the Kickstart activity. It's a program that funds projects similar to ETA. Then for threats, the main threat is that we have competitors with the same value propositions, and then we have some more technical threats that can put in cause our startup. We also complemented the SWOT analysis by making a 1,000 analysis for ETA, and we found out one of our most significant weaknesses was the lack of brand awareness and market presences among existing competitors. However, we see this weakness as an opportunity to build a database with all our previous radar data that will serve to predict landslide activity more efficiently. And with the previous landslide activity being a significant factor in the future of the activity itself. Our strength of being able to complete ground displacement analysis every 6 to 12 days which is much more frequent than other technologies. It will allow us to build this database fairly quickly and gain credibility in the market. We also defined some objectives and KPIs divided by short, medium, and long term. In the short term, we would like to find the target market and to figure out what is the amount of necessary investment to bring ETA to life. Then for the medium term objectives, we'd like to find investors, find clients, and experts that can complement our team. And finally, for the long run, we'd like to manage our return on investment, mitigate the impact of landslides, and expand ETA to service and support developing countries. We also will involve stakeholders in the VCW methodology that we are now working on. So we are going to use them in the 5 phases of the project, and we divided also by 5 types of stakeholders. So we have employees, governments, technology, environment, and other stakeholders. Each one of these stakeholders will have an impact in a specific phase, in a specific project, but they will be crucial for the success of our project. For phase 2, Beatriz will tell you about it.
More specifically, in phase 2A, ideas and solutions. For the ideas and solutions of our project, we have selected 193 countries as possible solutions. These countries are the 193 members of the UN, and we have chose this number and these countries because we wanted to cover the largest pool of possible markets that ETA could expand to. Moreover, we also are in agreement of the selection and the criteria used by the UN to select its countries, its member countries. So that's why we decide to use that as our solution. For the phase 2, the criteria and filters. For the filters, we have come up with a filter generation method. It's basically done according to 3 steps. The brainwriting exercise, 635, the research and secondary data collection, and the external stakeholder definition and involvement. All these criteria allow us to select and to create as many filters as possible for our research and in the most unbiased ways. For our third-party contributors, these were the stakeholders that have helped us not only to create filters, but also to select them further ahead and to prioritize them according to the ranking. As you can see here, they are all different specialists in different areas, and the way we contacted them was through an interview for each of them, and it was very insightful, and it really helped us in the selection and also later on in the ranking. After we got to all of the filters we could possibly think of, we were left with a total of 68 filters, which were then organized according to Pastel. As you can see, the political filters, the legal, economic, technological, environmental, and social. Now we will be going over to phase 3, validate value. For our solutions, we will still be looking at the 193 member states of the UN, since we don't want to exclude any of the countries before we start our analysis. In regards to the filters, we have decided to reduce the number of 68 to a more applicable number, but also so we could arrive at a result of filters that symbolized and that were more meaningful to what we were looking for. To do so, we have applied the poker method with criteria such as kill, review, keep, and multiply. After the poker method was applied, we were left with 14 filters we wanted to keep. Out of these 14 filters, we started our ranking process. The ranking process occurred in the following way. We started a democratic voting for each of the filters, in which each member of the group ranked the filters from 1 to 3, 1 being not relevant and 3 being highly relevant. After all the voting was done, we summed up the numbers and we were left with certain criteria. From 5 to 7 points, the filters were considered to be not relevant and considered in our table, but not necessarily applicable. From the 8 to 11 points, they were considered to be moderately relevant and were kept and used in our Excel table during our project. And for 12 to 15, they were considered highly relevant, and that's how they were organized. After ranking all the filters, this is the order that we came up with. The most relevant filter considered was number of landslides per country, and the least relevant filter that we considered was the competitiveness index.
I will now introduce you to the phase 4 of the value creation wheel, the phase of capturing value. As you can see, we ranked filters in order of importance based on our votes, and the results were, as you can see, a value creation funnel that ended up with the selection of the United States as the final target market. However, let's see how we got to that result. We sorted the possible 193 solutions according to the threshold values that we applied for every filter. The solutions were then filtered to the value creation funnel, in which they are sorted based not only on the value of the threshold, but also regarding the priority of each of the 14 filters, allowing only the solutions that were satisfying the previous thresholds. In this stage, the best solution was highlighted. It is essential to mention that we not only voted to select the most relevant filters, but also to select the threshold values. However, even if we selected 14 filters, by the filter number 11, we reached our final solution. Therefore, we still took into consideration the remaining filters, but we arrived to the solution before applying all of them. As you can see, after selecting the United States as the target market, we also applied a local funnel to find the most profitable local market within the country that we selected to be the most profitable for our service. The local market led us to select the state of Ohio, and specifically the Hamilton County, which has the highest annual per capita cost resulting from landslide damage. In the state of the United States, which has the biggest expenditure on landslide, which is due to the territories, to the geological features of their territory. Now that we selected the geographical area in which our company will operate, we will identify the place of the problem inside the value chain. And we identified the place of the problem inside the value chain to be in the downstream industry, where the EO data is poorly disseminated and it's not in a usable format. Therefore, the information is not precise and it's not usable to prevent the risks posed by landslides. And this lack of prevention costs governments and privates money every year. In fact, we have our value chain solution that we will bring by giving accurate information in real-time maps through a usable platform that can be used both by privates and governments, with live notifications and the possibility to be monitored and act immediately to prevent possible risks. As you can see, we position ourselves as the most accurate service there is, and following the high accuracy that we provide, we also have a relatively high cost with comparing ourselves to our competitors. However, ETA will provide the best possible service in the area that most needs this service, and it's already spending quite a big amount of money on the damages caused by landslides. Therefore, we think that this highly technical positioning is the most effective one to operate in the Hamilton County. And as you can see, we want to position ourselves with the Blue Ocean strategy in the features of usability, customizations, and mobile interface that are the features that our service, which is provided by TerraSigna, is the best one at. Therefore, as said before, we identified that the EO data about landslides, it's not easily readable and easily accessible to the people who are responsible for risk prevention, and therefore we aim to make it available through a user-friendly interface, which is also our Blue Ocean strategy. Now, let's talk about the segmentation process. We found three possible end-user segments that can be targeted, which are government agencies, property owners, and contractors and developers. We chose those because they are the ones that have an influence over infrastructure inside our area. However, we selected only two of them to be our target market: local government agency and large property owners. That is because contractors only need a one-time assessment in order to know if it is safe or not to build in a particular area, and they can get that one-time assessment also through other services. However, our service gives real-time data about possible changes in the landscape and risks associated, which are more of interest to owners of existing buildings, such as local government agencies, which are responsible for the public infrastructure, such as roads and public buildings, and large property owners, which have expensive and big property which can, and they're therefore susceptible to huge losses in case of an unexpected landslide. However, I want to point out that we are targeting only large property owners because they are interested in knowing a larger area of risk, larger portion of the area that we are monitoring than regular property owners, and because the characteristics of our target market suggest so. In fact, in the Hamilton County, the 10 biggest property owners own 35% of the real estate value, therefore making them a very good target for our product. Moreover, let's look at the government agencies and identifying their main pain points. The pain points are the fact that in the Hamilton County they are losing more than $5 million per year due to landslide damage, and they are suffering this damage in various areas like highways, railroads, irrigation canals, and other public infrastructures, which are of importance to the whole society and cause damage to the whole community in case of a landslide that interferes with them correctly functioning. And they are suffering all this damage for the characteristic of the soil, of course, but also for a poorly defined system to prevent and intervene in time. Moreover, the information is not transparent and widely disseminated, therefore also privates do not have access to all the information that government agencies do, and it's not much, because there is not a widely disseminated information available to everyone. Moreover, let's look instead at the main points of large property owners. As mentioned before, 10 people are owning a big percentage of the real estate value. The properties are losing value, however, because of the risk of damage, and the insurances do not pay for landslide damage because it's excluded from standard and business insurance policies in the US. So, following that, we would like to say that our positioning statement is: for local government agencies and large business owners, ETA will become a fundamental tool to facilitate the understanding and the tracking of landslides. We plan to deliver an easily accessible and understandable product with top-notch technology for landslide prediction in order for these agencies to be able to provide appropriate prevention measures to avoid damages. Let's have a look at the prototype. Clients will have access to our mapping mobile app and web app to display all the offered information. The app will notify our users of possible risk allocations as soon as the scenario becomes plausible, and the displacement rates will be often displayed using color symbols. The color symbols are as follows. The red color is used to symbolize an increase of distance from the pixel point to and the satellite, thus showing a high risk area because the land is moving further away from the satellite and is at higher risk of landslide. A green color is for stable pixels, therefore areas that at the moment are not at risk. And the blue color is again a risk color, but differently, because it's a decrease of distance along a pixel, which indicates that the ground has moved upwards instead of downwards. In order to allow ETA to define the best approach to the customers in Hamilton County, we decided to offer a marketing mix which includes a product that, as we described, is a service that is much needed in the county. B2B sales, which are mainly directed to consumers. In order to target our different target markets, target users, we developed two services, a base service and a premium service. The price difference is quite big because the premium service is almost 3 times as much as the base service, but both services are offer the best quality of technology available in the market. The base service provides real-time data, a periodic risk level update, and the full access to the platform and all the data available, other than customer support. If the client sees a high-risk area close by his property, can call us for support and to evaluate if it's necessary to intervene. This service is targeted mainly to our large business owner target because they have less purchasing power than government agencies, and because they are mainly responsible for the economic damages to their buildings. Therefore, it's in their own interest to check periodically that the area is not at high risk. However, they do not have any, let's say, any penal risks in case of a landslide to one of their buildings. Instead, government agencies are also legally responsible for the infrastructure that they're managing, and in case of a poor risk management, they can be held accountable for possible deaths or injuries. Therefore, we thought that our ideal target for a premium service is for government agencies, and in particular, the main difference between the services is that one of our geologists and data analysts will monitor continuously the client's areas of risk and actively alert the client in case of damage and actively intervening to prevent damages. Therefore, our government agencies can just subscribe to our premium service and have us do all the work, while in the base service they can have all the information available, but they have to actively monitor that their area is not at risk and then contact us to see if and when to intervene. Let's now see the phase 5 of consolidating value. Let's now look our business model canvas. Our value proposition is landslide damage risk minimization, of course. And in order to provide that, not only we have to offer our service that we described, but rely on key partners such as universities and geologists and experts in order to assess the actual risk given the data that we provide and evaluate if and how to intervene with our clients. We of course will rely on the revenue streams based of our subscriptions, and we will have as costs the data that we have to acquire from the Earth observation company TecraSigna and our key employees' wages, such as geologists and developers and data scientists, without which we cannot operate. Let's now look into the 3 M's. As I was mentioning about costs, we will rely on several employees starting from the first year to develop our service and start selling it by the end of the first year or beginning of the second. We have some fixed costs like the co-working space, rent, or the one-time registration fee, or the insurance or website domain, and variable costs that are mainly wages and the Earth observation data. In order to reach profitability, we need 500 $500,000 of initial funding before becoming cash flow positive in the second year and keeping a positive cash flow until the end of the fourth year before becoming highly profitable and scaling up our operations in all the United States in the fifth year. As I was mentioning, we aim at making the first sales and the start of regular activity in the last quarter of next year, before which we need to define even more clearly the business plan and budgeting, recruit our key employees, search for the funding needed, and launching the website. Other than training continuously our key employees in order to be ready for all the different challenges that might come up with a delicate service such as the one that we want to provide. Looking at the manpower, we are divided in between founders, which it's our team, and we are gonna take executive roles as key decision makers, and key employees that will bring us with the highly technical skills and knowledge in order to successfully develop our product. This instead is our vision of long-term roadmap. In the first year, as we described extensively, we will define the business plan, recruit the employees, develop the platform, and start selling in the Hamilton County. During the second year, we need to validate our business model in the Hamilton County, focus on increasing the volume of sales by expanding in all the Hamilton County and reaching at least 25 users. In the third year, which is 2024, we would look for an expansion of the team to allow to expand geographically and expanding geographically in more risk areas in the same state, however, in Ohio, reaching at around 55, 57 subscribers overall. In the fourth year, we will start getting salary ourselves, since we do not get paid before in order to reinvest all the money that we generate. Expand in more risk area of the United States and reaching a much wider volume of subscribers. In the last year, we would substantially increase the revenues with keeping the same cost structure, and by especially targeting more government agencies to almost double our premium subscribers and reach around 200 base subscribers, which is a reasonable target for all of the United States. As you can see, we achieved our short-term targets of finding a target market and determining the investment needed for our startup. And we are also in line with our medium and long-term objectives that you can see on the slide. And from now on, we need to focus on putting in practice the business plan and the activities we have defined in the rest of the presentation in order to successfully launch our product and go on with the business plan that we developed and that we believe to be the best one in order to enter the landslide prevention risk market in the Hamilton County. To conclude, I would like to say that our team has developed a great knowledge about these innovation frameworks, that is the value creation wheel, and we developed a very useful team dynamic in confronting each other and gathering ideas, as we were a diverse team with people with different backgrounds and different nationalities, and acting all together as key decision makers by collaborating instead of discussing with each other. In conclusion, therefore, this project has not only helped us realize the importance of landslide prevention in certain areas and the market opportunity that there is for an Earth observation technology that I want to describe, but it also taught us as people to work together as key decision makers and to develop knowledge about the value creation wheel. Thank you for your attention, and thank you from all the group ETA.